Tighten up, leaders. Welcome to the Nuts and Bolts of Leadership, the show that drills into the foundations of what leadership is all about. I'm your producer and co-host, Hali Gibson.
And I'm your host, Billy Duran.
Join us as we sit down with leaders from across the country to mine for nuggets of wisdom.
All right, everyone, welcome into the meeting room. Today we're going to be talking about leadership because this is the Nuts and Bolts of Leadership podcast. I'm the host, Billy Duran, and I'm in the room today with Hali Gibson, the co-host and producer. Hali, what's the nugget of the week?
Well, the nugget of the week this week is specifically for our teachers out there.
Okay.
So, and the students. We were all previously students at one point. If you were ever in a class and you had a good portion of students that would start packing up right before they knew that the bell was supposed to ring. And most teachers would always say, do not pack up before the end of class. You might miss something. My nugget for our listeners today is don't dip out of the podcast before the end of the episode because you might miss a nugget.
Might miss a nugget. And this is definitely going to be a show today that you're going to get your notepad out. Today we have Hope Thompson, who is the president and CEO at Northern Radiator. Hope and I met at a CEO conference this past summer. Just loved to hearing about her company and the passion that she has for her team. So Hope is the president and CEO of Northern Radiator, over 25 years experience in the heat transfer industry, serving industries in agricultural, the heavy duty truck and bus, high performance industrial, material handling, and automotive industry. So Hope, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
So Hope, it was really good to get to know you a little bit when we were up in Rhode Island this past summer, and love hearing just the passion that you talk about your company, your team. So what is it that makes Northern Radiator such a great place to work?
Well, I like to say it's the people. I work with a lot of really great people, a lot of people that have been here for a long time. We have some people that retired last year that were in the upper 30s and early 40s in their tenure with the company. We have some people that are currently with the company that are still in those upper 30s and early 40s for years of service. So I think what draws people to and keeps them here at Northern is our family atmosphere. You know, we started out as a mom and pop company, and we've tried to continue that as much as we can, even though as we grow, we have to make changes to, facilitate all that you have to do with more staff and everything. But really, we're all, we treat each other like family. I feel like family is the most important thing and want people to be able to spend the time that they need with their family. So we encourage people to attend their kids' programs and, take their parents to appointments and things like that. So it's all part of life. That's more important than our work.
That's right. So, Hope, tell us a little bit about your journey, your leadership journey into the CEO's position. And I'm going to circle back to you and ask you some questions about those that have retired. We've got some legacy employees at our company that are retiring this year, and it makes me kind of sad. I'm thankful for them and grateful for the next step and chapter in their journey. It makes me a little sad that we're going to lose kind of part of our family, as you said. And I'm curious as to how you guys did some of those retirement pieces and how that transfer of knowledge is important. But tell us a little bit about your journey into the CEO spot at Northern Radiator.
Sure thing. So I started with the company in 1998. I came in when they had an opening in the customer service department. And over my time in the customer service department, I learned a lot, not only about our product offering and the industries we touched, but also about the company in general. And as time went on, I became more comfortable in that position. I reached out to other departments just asking, what I could help with, did they have any projects they needed assistance with? And as those things got kind of parsed out to me, I got to learn a little bit more about each department and their inner workings with the company and how they handled things. So I got to learn about how things I did in my everyday basis touched other departments. And eventually it kind of moved up to the president's office. He would have projects all the time. And I'd say, hey, can I help with that? Can I take this? Can I take that? And he'd say, here's what I'm looking for. This is what I want done. And I'd bring it back, in a finished position. So by doing those things, I got to learn a lot about the intricacies of the other departments and how they touched, intertwined with everything that everyone did. And so in 2014, we became 100% ESOP. We had two partners at that time. One of them was looking to retire, And our former president had kind of made it known early on that he saw the future for Northern being an employee-owned company. So in 2014, when that other partner decided to retire, that's when they really dove into ESOP and how they could make that happen. And they transitioned at that time to 100% ESOP with the knowledge that our president, his name is Roger Gopay, when he left in 2018, that I would step into the president's role at that time. So I kind of attached myself to him.
So when you think back on that transition and how you were beginning to, and we call this sliding things off people's desk. I mean, there's nothing more exciting to me when someone says, let me have that, when they pull that off the desk. So when you think back on that experience now, how have you turned around and transferring that to the people that are growing under you? Do you find yourself kind of looking for those to come forward? Because really, this is what leadership looks like. That's what we want to talk about this podcast. And you're talking to a lot of emerging leaders that are trying to find their way. How do they step into those spots? And I think you've actually kind of laid out a pathway on how you did it. And quite frankly, it's very similar to my journey. I started asking, let me take care of that. Even if I didn't know exactly what to do, there's a little risk in let me take care of that. So are you now turning around and seeing some of that happening in reverse?
A little bit, yeah. I keep my eyes open for people that are looking for additional little projects and things that I can pass off to them, just to give them a taste of, what happens outside of, their little world. We all kind of think of our departments as, this is the realm that I work in every day, but I would say to people, take the blinders off. There's a whole big world outside of, your department and the people that you work with. And to be able to learn more about, what happens when I finish this project and it moves on to the next person, what information do they take from that and how do they utilize it to grow and move it to the next step? Just never stop learning, I guess.
Yeah, and those critical pieces of that when we're actually can help our young leaders particularly, but even those that are just advancing in the company and have been in certain roles for a long time, for them to kind of pull out and see a little more of the 50,000-foot view, how they're and even how important their part in and the timing of their part helps this thing move down the line. And I mean, I think that's critical in how we communicate that, and as leaders, how we share that information, because as our team is growing and maturing, we definitely want to be ready to hand things off. And oftentimes I hear this, Hope, and you probably heard it too, I can do it faster myself. But the truth is, are we really teaching? Are we really teaching and coaching when we keep that mentality? Because you're right, you can do it faster because you're the expert in the field. But we have to grow leaders in saying, I want you to take this task, take it as far as you can, and then come back and then let me help coach you through some of that. So you mentioned the employee ownership, and since 2014, how do you feel like the employee ownership model has shaped or helped define the culture at Northern Radiator?
It's been wonderful for our culture. Our team knows, we're very encouraging of people bringing their thoughts, ideas, concerns, to our leadership team. Everybody has a voice, and, we have to tell them, it's not always going to be, the idea that's brought forward or concerns. Maybe there's something that you're not aware of that, impact why this can or can't be done in the fashion that you're thinking. But that helps them grow in their knowledge about the company too. So if they don't bring up the ideas, we can't address them and move forward with it or talk about, why it may not work. But we encourage everyone to bring up those thoughts and ideas, because there's no bad idea.
So when you guys first started moving toward that model of employee ownership, we like to talk about, we don't talk about ownership metaphorically. We talk about ownership literally. We are literally part owners of the organization. Matter of fact, we just had one of our young leaders was helping someone at the door and at the front door actually, and someone asked for the owner. And I said, well, just tell them, okay, I can help you. So it's very interesting, though, when people coming into the company still that shift into ownership and really what that means, and how, and it's not one one message, one sentence accomplishes it. It takes a while for that message to get out there. And you guys have been doing it for 10 years now. And how that is going out in communication. Hali had a question.
So Billy talked about kind of that ownership shift. There's also a vision shift as well. So when a company has a mission, they have a language, they have a vision, the mindset of their employees shifts as well. So how do you define and communicate the vision of Northern Radiator to keep your team moving on track and moving forward?
Yeah, so we talk about it. I put out a quarterly recap with our team, and part of that recap is not only addressing kind of what we did or didn't achieve during the past quarter, but what areas of our vision and mission that maybe we accomplished. We've got some growth vision in place, and in our third quarter, we just opened up a Denver location, so that was part of our strategy there, and we were able to talk about that, the process we went through to get where to that opening date. And not only in our quarterly recaps, we also talk about it during our share reveal day when we have that go on. And then we have town halls a couple of times throughout the year. And then when we have those meetings, we're talking about, what are we working on to get to achieve this? If we've got something that's set in the next 3 years or 5 years, there are some groundwork things that need to be laid to be able to take that next step to get to that item 3 years down the road. So we talk about what areas we're working on to take that next step.
Hope, I could feel CEOs leaning in forward when you said the phrase town hall. I want to hear more about town hall. What does that look like?
So we give our employees the opportunity to raise questions, and they send them in. We'll do it either through a survey or just questions that come up, organically throughout the quarter or half year or whatever. And we'll put them out there and say, these are the issues that we'll be addressing. And then we'll also take that time if there's some other, like a project that we've been working on, if we need to address some issues with the project or how we're doing with the project that affects the entire company. But the town halls are there to just be kind of an open book for everyone and let them have the floor so they can ask whatever questions are top of mind for them, and we answer them. And if there's something that somebody asks that maybe we need to take offline just because maybe it's maybe got a little more personal in nature than should be addressed, we'll address it in that fashion. But most times people are asking questions that it's a curiosity that they have either about our business or our products or industries, things like that. So they're asking good questions that really kind of hinge on our business.
I love that. I love that idea. And I'm thinking about that we need to steal this idea. We've done something similar, but I think that this is a really good idea for us to steal from you because I really think that there are times when we're doing a lot of, so part of our mission is to have what we call the NEO, which is our new employee orientation. We stole that idea. I'll just tell you that. We're Steelers, Hope. We are Steelers. We should be the Threaded Faster Steelers. If we had a professional football team, we would be called the Steelers.
Well, that's part of the reason for the podcast. We want people to take good ideas from other companies, and that's people inherently want other people to succeed. This is the whole.
We are professional thieves. Yeah. We bring people here and we steal from them. So I'm thinking this town hall would be a great idea. And here's why I believe this, all joking aside. I believe that if one person is asking it, 10 people are thinking it. So we need those question askers to come into our organization. And look, like you just said, some of those questions might have a little sting to it, might have a little personal, I'm not sure where that's coming from. And we may need to carve that out and say, we need to think about, make sure we're answering this correctly and have to take that offline. But even the character and culture of our organization should be such that even if it is a question that might be, hey, this isn't the right format to ask it, but most of those questions come in that we can answer the curiosity, as you say, because we want our teams to be curious. We want them to be learners. And as our organization grows and develops and as they mature, I'm just thinking about how helpful that could be. So Hope, thanks for giving us that. We're going to steal that.
Your borrowers, not
yeah,
borrowers.
We're
a little softer.
We're borrowers that never give it back. We're that neighbor that borrows the wheelbarrow and never gives it back. So you talk about building. You're committed to building a relationship to be just as durable as your products. Tell me a little bit about what that means to you and how you guys are fostering the relationships. And this is why I'm really curious about this. I think we do a better job kind of coaching and telling our new folks who we are and what we do. But there's people that's been in our company for a long time that we need to continue to foster that relationship as well. So tell us how you came to that. We want to build relationship as durable as our products.
Sure. Our customers are what make our business. Without our customers, we're four walls with a bunch of boxes, inside. So, our staff knows that we need to understand our customers' needs and be nimble enough to adapt so we can continue to offer programs in which they find value. So our relationships are built on our ability to listen to what our customers' needs are, where they're struggling or have a gap to fill. Northern always wants to be the supplier that fills the gap or provides a resolution to an issue. The same can be said for our new customers. A lot of times we visit with new prospects or leads that we're going to leave and be like, okay, this might not go anywhere. And then they'll reach out again and we'll have another meeting with them. And, maybe it's getting a little warmer, but it still doesn't go anywhere. And somewhere around that fourth or fifth visit, all of a sudden you see progress and you figure out what happened was, that last meeting, their competitor, our competitor, their current supplier, maybe let them down in some fashion. And all of a sudden we're there. We're going to do what we've told them we can do. And then we can kind of we can cure their issue. We can be the savior sometimes. So we tell our sales staff and our customer service staff, be patient. It's not, every first cold call or first visit isn't always going to amount to the sale, but just be there and, prove the prospect or the lead right and that we do what we say we can do.
So you had talked about you had just returned from your big industry trade show, and what other way? I'm assuming that's part of the way you guys go to market. What other ways do you guys go to market?
Oh, we've got a website. We touch our customers and prospects by in digital format via email blasts, and we're strictly B2B. So we're an entire wholesale distributor, all B2B. So we're not out looking for any retail situations. We participate in a lot of industry events in all of the different industries that we touch, whether it's race, truck, high performance, automotive, agricultural, things like that. So we're out there. We're seeing. Yeah.
Well, I'm a researcher too. A little bit before we go to the podcast, I was on your website, and like most Southern gentlemen, I went to high performance and agriculture. So race cars and tractors are right up there in my sweet spot. So I noticed that how diverse your industries are. I mean, you serve a lot of different industries, and that piqued my interest. I kind of leaned into your website when I saw the race car sliding around the track on the website. So I was kind of surprised at the number of industries that you guys are in now. When I want to go back something you said, and I apologize for not getting this the first time, but when you talk about communicating culture, you just opened up a new location, and now you're not just in one campus, you're in multiple campuses. So when you're communicating culture, how has that changed now, the dynamic of, hey, I just can't walk out into the warehouse and everybody's right in front of me? How has that dynamic changed for you, and how are you communicating across multiple campuses now?
Sure. So we're up to 20 locations now, and I have made it a point that I visit each location at least one time per year. So I have some one-on-one time with not only our warehouse supervisors and managers, but also our warehouse staff and our warehouse associates, so that I'm not just some name or face, in an email or on a screen, but I'm a real person, and I get to know these people and their families, on a more personal level, and we can talk about, things that they've got going on in their life outside of work. And then we can talk about their concerns at work, thoughts and ideas that they have.
Well, I'll know this, 21 locations, you must get a pretty good Sky Miles contribution at the end of the year. That's a lot of locations. So I guess this is the time of year you're headed for the warmer locations.
I would love to be headed to those warmer locations. We do have a lot of locations in the upper Midwest here, so that I can drive to. So I do also have a lot of windshield time. All
right. This is the Nuts and Bolts of Leadership podcast. We're with Hope Thompson, and we'll be right back.
Threaded Fasteners is a 100% employee-owned company whose mission is to create value in and for the people we serve. So, if you're interested in learning more about how we develop a people-centric culture, or if you're interested in a customized fastener solution, send us an email at culture@threadedfasteners.com. That's culture@threadedfasteners.com.
All right, we're with Hope Thompson. We're back in the meeting room, and we're going to be talking about the goals and what's next, Hope, for Northern Radiator. You guys have had 21 locations. I mean, that is impressive. What's next for Northern Radiator?
Yeah, as I mentioned, 2 months ago, we opened our location in Denver, Colorado, and our goal is really to be able to service our customers within 24 hours. So we still have a few little holes in the map, and over the next couple of years, we'll take care of getting those filled in. And bigger picture, our goals will be to expand through acquisition. We've got a really good distribution system throughout the U.S., and we'll be looking for companies that either can assimilate product into what we currently offer, or, wholly different product that are looking for a distribution footprint that Northern can offer. So
I love to hear acquisition. That's one of our favorite phrases. We love to talk about acquisition. So Hope, we kind of pivot to the more personal side of this, and along your story and your thoughts about the emerging leader. And, we have leaders tuned into this program. We encourage all of our leaders to tune in, and particularly those who are just considering their leadership journey. What advice would you have for the aspiring leader who wants to make an impact on the organization? That one that wants you're looking for them to slide that folder off your desk. How would you encourage the emerging leader in your organization to step forward?
Sure. I would say be willing to put the work in and continue to learn. Being knowledgeable in your own department just isn't enough. To fully understand a company, you need to understand how each department impacts the next, and how a shortcoming or failure in one area can cause ripple effects across the company or across other departments. When you have that understanding, you not only serve your immediate areas to the best of your ability, but you ensure that up or downstream other departments are also successful.
So when we're talking about the journey for young leaders, and I know that there are people in your organization that are leadership coaching and encouragers. Who's someone who made an impact on your leadership journey? Because I want to get, if you don't mention them, I'm going to get you to talk about the UPenn class that both of us have been to. But tell us someone who's been instrumental in your leadership journey.
Inside our company, our previous owner, Roger Bouquet, was a great mentor. He saw something in me that I didn't see in myself, and pushed and challenged me to step outside of my comfort zone, kind of like you, Billy. Outside our company, I've got several mentors. I am part of a local business leaders group that we get together with on a monthly basis. And then, as you mentioned, the UPenn group leading in an ownership setting. I had the privilege of going through that course in 2021. Learned many valuable things through that group, and have taken away some great nuggets. And I'm thankful that we try to connect a few times a year, either virtually or in person, to discuss any issues we may be running into, whether it be around the economy or business in general, or around the human resource. I think we all realize that while issues may arise in our own companies, it's likely that somebody else has experienced it, dealt with it, or so to hear other ideas for ways to approach these issues or situations is a gift. And it's a blessing to be surrounded by these like-minded people that make themselves available for that support.
I'm so proud to be listed as one of those people who push you out of your comfort zone. That's an incredible honor for me to take. So when you mentioned the previous owner, what was the gentleman's name you mentioned first? Was it Roger?
Roger.
Yeah.
Roger.
So tell me, just this would be a crazy question, but I'm curious, how are you like him and how are you different? Because, when we look at our mentors, oftentimes we try to be like them, but quite frankly, often the mentor just brings out the best in who we are. Don't follow me. Be the best version of yourself. How are you like him, and how are you different?
I would say I'm like him in that I dig into things. I try to figure out like the why, how things happen, why things happen, things like that. How I'm different, I would say I maybe give people more space to do, to try new things. And an example would be our ERP system and utilizing it to its fullest. I know it has capabilities beyond what I even know, but I challenge the people that are supposed to be using it in that fashion to dig into it and see what else it can do that we aren't aware of.
I love to draw those analogies because when we look back and we've had guests come on our show and they've talked about mentors and a lot of them, just like you, they've mentioned the person that stood in the position right before they did and how they impacted and influenced their life. And oftentimes, if we're not careful, we will try to just, okay, I'm going to try to do it this way, or I'm going to try to do it just the way that they've always done it. But quite frankly, we can grow frustrated as leaders if we're trying to emulate in a gifted area that you just don't have. You have more of a, I want to dig in, and I'm not the teammate that digs in. I like to stay way up here, but we've got people on our team that love to dig in and drill into the details of everything. So if we were to pull someone out of your office, we're going to say, okay, we're going to pull somebody that knows you and says, tell us what kind of leader Hope is. What would they say about you?
Oh boy. Maybe hands-on. I don't expect people to do things that I'm not willing to do myself. So I'm not going to ask somebody to do something that I wouldn't find myself do or expect myself to do as well.
I'm not sure that there's a better quality to be than a leader and to be one that steps out there and does it with our team. So well done on that. So Hope, we also like to list on our website books that people are reading so we can post them. We've had a lot of great books. A lot of the same books have popped up over the course of our podcast journey. What would be a good book that you would recommend that you've read or are reading?
Well, you're in luck. This is a very timely question because when I returned from my most recent travels, I had a book in the mail called The Journey of Leadership. I was in a webinar earlier this summer that talked about this newly released book, and it's about how CEOs learn to lead from the inside out. So I just got that when I got home last week, and I'm going to dig into it over the next couple of weeks.
Well, I'm thankful for that recommendation. I have it. Who's the author? Who's the author on that book? Do you have it right there in front of you? I actually do. There you go.
It is senior partners at McKinsey & Company. There's 4 authors.
We'll make sure to post that on our website. We have had a great time with you today on the podcast, and I know that you were nervous about coming on here, but you did a great job, and I appreciate it being outside your comfort zone because you're teaching your leaders, your emerging leaders. There may be something asked of you that might be a little difficult. We had the episode before you, the last episode. We talked a little bit about this with Nathan Miller, and one of the things he talked about was being a little more comfortable with being uncomfortable, the discomfort of leadership in your journey, and you've shown them how to do it, and I appreciate you taking time to be on the podcast with us today.
I really appreciate you guys giving me the opportunity and pushing me to do it.
All right, we'll catch up with you soon, Hope. Thanks again.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day.
Haley, that was a great episode with Hope Thompson. I know that Hope was nervous about being on the podcast, but what a great leader. When I met her for the first time, I could tell she was going to be a little bit of reluctant to come on the podcast because she thought that she might not have something worth saying. But man, what a great interview that we had with her. And I love the way that she is leading her organization. What were your takeaways from the Hope interview?
It's the way that she talked about how her team communicates with their potential vendors. And part of that was we want to do what we say that we do, and the way that they know that it's a long game. They know that eventually their future customers, current customers, are going to realize the value of what they have to give because they are going to do what they say that they do.
And I love her part when I asked, when I said, what would they say about you as a leader? And she said, I'm a hands-on leader. And, when we talk about leadership, I'm not sure that there's a greater quality that we can present to our team as to be hands-on. I don't want to be the person that's sitting in the grandstands. I want to be the person down on the field with my team. I know that the leader's role is set vision. Here's where we're going. Here's how we're going to get there, and here's your part in it. But I love that leaders can get down there and they get their hands in it. Hali, it was a great episode. Until we meet again, tighten up.
Tighten up. Thank you for joining the Nuts and Bolts of Leadership podcast, brought to you by the employee owners of Threaded Fasteners. If you enjoyed our conversation, please subscribe to, rate, and review the Nuts and Bolts of Leadership wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Do you have a leadership story to tell or a question to ask? Email us at podcast@threadedfasteners.com. That's podcast@threadedfasteners.com. This show is made possible by our family at Threaded Fasteners, Inc. Our mission is to create value in and for the people we serve. Interested in learning more about TFI and how we create value in our team, in our communities, and in our customers? Visit threadedfasteners.com. Thank you again for listening. I'm your co-host and producer, Hali Gibson.
And I'm your host, Billy Duray.
This show is edited and produced by Johnny Glenn and our friends at Deep Fried Studios.